Welcome everyone to the Monday afternoon roundtable. Got my brother Jason with me today.
Good to see everybody.
Hey, brother.
Hey.
It's been a long couple of weeks. We haven't had a podcast. What now? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Maybe 3. We've been really busy.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And what we're going to talk about today is really what we've been doing for the most part: executive security.
Yep.
And you know a lot about it. Tim knows a lot. I've worked around it a little bit, so we're still kind of learning the business with that. But we've done enough of it now, I think, that we can provide some good ideas and suggestions. And we're open to any suggestions or any ideas that other people may have that are listening to the podcast that want to let us know. I had the executive security training multiple times with my career, as did you, as did Tim. But let's talk a little bit about the case that we're doing now. Not go into specifics, of course, but as far as the logistics, the geographic area that we covered, the time frames, communications, all those things that we dealt with in putting that assignment together. And let me remind everybody, we got 3 different companies, and this was a 10-star assignment. So Tim was the lead investigator on it, and so we were helpers for him. We provided support.
And to make it easy to navigate, I would say we were the team, which was roughly, we've used 7 or 8 people plus some other organizations and groups we've had. Law enforcement's helped us out with this. Some other companies have, just for manpower purposes. So we've got us as the team. Then we've got the principal or the clients.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what would be the common proper term for the person that we're
the target. It would be the target in this case.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have a target.
Sometimes you don't. Yeah, we did in this, which is fortunate.
We did, yes. And it makes it a little easier.
It does.
In some ways, but a little tougher in others. But we were able to gather as much information. We talked about due diligence last time we did a podcast. I think that was number 9. This would be number 10. But in that podcast, we talked about preparing, doing everything we could, the research prior to, and Tim was able to do that with this case, as were you, and you put the report together, our assignment report, or the activity report, operations plan.
Yeah.
Excuse me, thank you. And that was kind of the backbone to give us direction on what we needed to do, when we needed to do it.
A reference.
Yeah.
And we did the drive-bys, took pictures. Tim took pictures. He got us all the information. We actually set eyes on everything before the assignment,
which was good, I think.
I do too, because
we were able to pick our surveillance positions out, our exits, egress, and how we were going to come in and out. Just made it a little bit easier.
Yeah, our bad spots we had at each position.
And we had several.
Yeah.
This one was tough because of the location. We actually had multiple locations, but we had the home site, which was way out in the country. And then we had the work site for the target, of course. But then we transported the principals, and we had 2 with the 2 principals in this case.
Well, you count the child, it'd be
actually 3.
3.
I mean, that counts, yeah. But we were able to, and they moved separately a lot of times. They didn't go in tandem, but they'd move separately because they had different things to do during the day. But we were able to put all that together, put a good ops plan together, and we were able to go through and make sure that we knew where we were going to go, who was going to go. Now, the issues we had, I think if we had to pick a couple, one was communications.
Yep.
As far as radio direct communications, we had it, but oftentimes it was sketchy. So something we got to work on.
Something we're working on, yeah.
And we're going to have an after-action plan. We'll all of us get together because it's still going on a little bit, but we're all going to get together and talk about it and regroup and look at our the good and the bad with what happened. We can look at our opportunities and what we did right and what we did wrong. I think we did more right in this case.
I do too. And I told Tim that, I said, this was a very good experience for all of us because we all got to work together, the whole team, not just the 3 brothers.
True.
We all got to work together. We all got to see significant amount of time on site and working, and we got to bounce ideas in real time off of each other and kind of, we had the plan, which we stuck to, but we had to add and subtract some as we went.
And anyone in this business will understand that you've got to do that with this type of work, just because it's fluid. Things change, people change. But I agree. I think everything went smooth as it could have. The bottom line, the principal's safe.
Yeah.
And the target we didn't have any contact with the target. So that was success, in my opinion. People talk about Blackwater and the security company. You know, a lot of people give them a lot of grief, as did I. I didn't like the way they did business. However, I don't think they ever had a principal that was ever touched on any security detail. Now, they went overboard on a lot of things that they did. However, they accomplished their mission.
Yeah.
And so, but anyhow, that's going off on another story. But what we got to do is, after we do our after action report, is kind of sit down and look at the communications issue. And I think there is just buying a little bit better equipment, maybe, or additional equipment. One thing that I did while I was on site, sometimes the communication was so bad, I just said, we got to come up with an alternate signal. So I said, if I blare the horn, 5-second blare on the horn, which the principal could hear inside the residence, that means go to the safe shelter, safe area, safe room, we called it. When we had a safe room in the house for them to go to. And we tested it to make sure they could hear, and it worked. Luckily, we didn't have to do it. I mean, we had other ways of doing things, but that was just fly by the seat of our pants if it all goes to shit, which it can in a minute in that kind of situation. But
what I really enjoyed and learned from, I think we're all different, and all of us, everybody that worked, their talents came through as needed. We're like you're talented at something and I'm not, and I'm talented, or vice versa, or each one brought their A game or what they could add to the team, and it really everybody gelled together. Like, we had to take one of the principals to court for a restraining order as the victim or the plaintiff. Yeah, the plaintiff. And that worked really well. I think that was the best part of our operation. I think that went smoother than any other part. I do too.
The problem I saw too, Jason, was we had 3 different companies. Actually, we had another security company because we just didn't have the manpower to do this 24/7.
Subcontracted out.
We subcontracted, and we had assistants from the sheriff's office where they would do what's called a hustle, which it was provided income. Side job, yeah. And they liked it. I mean, it was really, there was the area was big. It was a lot of acreage. It was kind of a dangerous spot to do security because there was so many hiding places. Yeah, there were multiple buildings on the property.
And we did the more covert, we're plain clothes, not necessarily seen, but we wanted the sheriff's office, when they came in the marked patrol cars, they were the overt. We wanted that. Correct. It did get back to the target.
Oh, everybody in the neighborhood knew.
Yeah, which is exactly what we wanted, where he didn't know when or where or to the extent of what was going on.
But most time you don't want that.
Most time you don't.
But we did, and we talked about it. We said, hell yeah, let's let him know, or the target know, she's got security and they're here. Yeah. And they're capable of doing whatever needs to be done.
Yeah. And like you said, that's a rarity, and it's usually not that way.
Correct. And another key component is having the right people on your staff. And you always got, sometimes you'll have one or two that just, they're a little too aggressive. They want to play Secret Service or CIA or whatever, and or Navy SEAL, whatever they've seen a movie about. So you got to bring them down to reality and say, here's what we're here to do. These are our objectives. And I think your plan, if I'm not mistaken, had objectives in it. What our objectives were, but that way we can say, okay, we can change, we can make it better. But if we have, that's what we can fall back on. That's our guide and our direction. And for the most part, 90% of what you put in there, that's what we did. So, can you think of anything else that?
Yeah, from my training and prior experiences, you wanted, and you and Tim are much taller than I, and you're more intimidating physically looking. Yeah, me and Garrett, for say, we're kind of more. Garrett's tall as y'all, but he's not as filled out yet. So you and Tim served as, quote unquote, the way I was taught, body guys, to be with the principal, and the other ones of us could kind of be, out in the crowd or ahead or behind or with the target if we're in a public area. We kind of used what we had and worked, and I think it worked really, really well.
I do too. And I'll use the courtroom example. We had advance. We got there early. We kind of scoped the place out. It was fairly a good amount of people there. Of course, we had the court officials. But one problem that I saw, however, everyone there knew us,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to talk to us and different things. They didn't have a clue why we
Over
were
there, yeah.
and that was a good thing. But yet, it was a little bit distracting.
However, to this day, I don't think the target has made you yet. He made me, event just from me, he made Tim and another one of our workers just from that. But I don't think he put two and two together because you didn't sit, you know.
Well, and both of us tried to keep moving,
Yeah.
and but we kept him inside all the time, and we had a team with the principal to move her from the vehicle inside the building. Then you got all the security issues with the courthouse, as you know, which was that kind of created a whole different animal. But once we got in, everything was secure. We made sure we were able to get her seated in a safe, in the most, in my opinion, the safest place she could have been, where if there would have been action or engagement with the target, we could have gotten her out, or the team could have gotten her out. And so I think that worked fairly well. One thing to our favor, we have a vehicle that's used for that purpose, and that come in handy. It's big. It's large SUV, tinted windows. We were able to move the target or the principals back and forth, and I think that was a plus.
Yeah. And we had scenario planned everything with the target, everything from verbal altercation with the principal up to a deadly force situation and everything in between.
Yes.
And luckily, or we were blessed in that there was zero altercation other than, you know, possibly doing drive-bys and stuff like that.
And he did do that.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it went just the best as it could have. And the principal's safe, but the operation is still technically going on, I think, but we're winding it down. But we wanted to use that one as an example because that was a pretty big deal for us. I mean, but we've done other executive security jobs, and some of them were just as simple as maybe taking a CEO from the airport to the hotel, and you and I have both done some of these where we've been called in to do when an HR component comes into a large company to do some kind of disciplinary.
Yeah.
Usually a dismissal.
Yep.
Where they call us to come in just to provide security to get the individual in and out and to take care of the HR people or the CEO, whomever's doing the disciplinary.
And they want us to be covert in that, you know, where we just kind of blend in, but they give us all the information, the photograph, the background, cars, social media, and then we do digging on our own.
Right. I have done one before with it was a Fortune 500 company that it was 24/7 for 3 weeks. We had a team with the principal and his family, and he had a big family. We had a team with the target, and let me back up. We had a team with the principal, the main principal, the CEO. We had a team with his family. Then we had a team assigned to the target, which that's 3 different units, and the area between was probably roughly 30 miles between the target and the principal. That's good and bad. But we were able to break it up in that 3-week period. But we were working 12-hour shifts. It was cold. It was during the Christmas time. But the CEO had a severe heart attack during the assignment. I wasn't working during that period, but the associate that was handling it, he knew enough and had enough first aid experience, and he was able to get the CEO the ambulance and get him safe to the hospital and treatment. And everything was fine. But this particular situation was an employee who threatened to kill the CEO. And in this big company, everyone that worked there said, anyone in here could make that threat, and we'd just shrug it off. This guy, he's capable. And he was a little, you could tell he was a little from a different cloth. So we had to pay special attention to him. He had a lot of firearms. He had a lot of weapons. We went as far with that one, Jason, as to the company did it, but rented a home near his house, inside of his house that was for rent. They leased it to us for a month, and we were able to stay there and watch the principal, which worked out well. I don't think to this day he ever saw us. At the end of the assignment, the target was done. The principal was done. He was ready to get rid of all this security because it was tight. I mean, we had to watch him close because of death threat. And they found a firearm in the wood line near the factory. So that was another, and the sheriff's office found that. But doing your due diligence, knowing who your target is, knowing what he's capable or she's capable of doing, and having a plan, having a strong plan ready.
Let's talk about, like I mentioned, the body guys, the body person for the principal. let's talk about how they're different than, say, the perimeter people. The goal of the body people. What would, if something went sideways? It's kind of a change of how we were brought up in law enforcement.
Yeah.
It's a change of an attitude or change of way you do things.
Right. And the body people is what I call them, or the point guards. They're with the principal. They do not leave the principal's site. They get the individual in, they get them out, they stay right beside of them. If there's an engagement with the target or any other individual, then they don't worry about trying to take down the attack or the threat. They are assigned to get the principal out of the danger zone, get them to the vehicle, get them out of there. And we had safe rooms available if we needed them, but our plan during this operation that we're talking about was to get her out of the area, get her into the vehicle and out of the danger zone. Luckily that we didn't have to do that, but you're right. The point people stay with the principal. They don't engage with the target or any threat. Then your other people that are outside, they engage,
contain the threat,
right.
Allow for an avenue for the body people to get her.
They just want to stop the threat. And sometimes that may mean is just putting your arm out, and it may mean pulling your weapon and using lethal force. We're trained to do that. That's part of our training, is to, whatever the threat is how we're going to respond. And in this last assignment, we had the firearms and all the weaponry that I think we needed. We could have maybe used different calibers on different things, but I think we were ready. If there was going to be any kind of threat, we would have been prepared for that. My fear on that assignment was the sniper, because we were just in an open area.
Yeah, it was a challenging geographical location. The way the lay of the land was laid out was very challenging.
And we were told that this individual knew how to use a gun as well. So we had that in mind. Luckily that didn't happen, but we knew what our threat was. We did our homework. Vehicles is another part. We talked about the SUV that we use, but the way we would work this, whoever drove the principal, then we had another individual in the SUV with the principal. We had the driver and then the point person. And then if we had people available, then we had a follow car.
And you always want the principal in the middlemost securest part of the vehicle.
Yes, and in that vehicle, the back with the windows are tinted, and it's a large area, and the principal can be back there. And it worked out well, I thought. But the follow vehicle, the tail vehicle, trail vehicle, whatever you want to call it, they've got a lot of responsibility too, because they're watching the cars coming up behind them on a four-lane road. If you've ever worked a presidential detail, I don't know if you have or not, but if we go on the interstate, every intersection's blocked. All the exits and ramps are blocked. I mean, they got free reign, and they're running 120 miles an hour. And of course, we can't do that. But if we knew what the target's vehicles look like, we knew every vehicle pretty much that he had access to, so we'd watch the mirrors. If we saw a vehicle that looked like that car, then we would ease over where they couldn't pass, and we'd communicate with the driver, and the driver could get off or move on out of the way. Luckily, we didn't have to worry about that either. Anything else?
We've also worked, our experience, we've worked with politicians before. You've worked presidential details before. I've worked with congressmen before, federal cabinet member type people. We've worked with VIP celebrities. We've worked black tie or plain average clothes assignments.
And one cool assignment you worked was the Golden Globe?
Yeah, the Golden Globes. That was a very great experience in that. Learned a lot.
I bet. You didn't have to guard a stairwell, did you?
No, I had to guard. No, I guarded. I actually had a good spot. He had the red carpet, and I was the first spot on the red carpet behind. You had like Entertainment Tonight, or whatever. You had all these different networks had their own little interview spots. Well, the VIPs, some of them would just bypass the red carpet and just go, so they would walk right by us. And some, after they would want to get their picture made on the red carpet, then they would come by. Just for instance, like Jay-Z come and hung out where we were at while his wife Beyonce was getting her picture and getting interviewed. And he just kind of sat there. We're not supposed to talk to him unless they talk to us. And he was just like, man, I wish you'd hurry up. And I was like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Just small.
And that brings up another point: is engaging with the principal,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a big no-no. But sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to, especially if it's a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trained not to engage unless
Not get
not to.
pictures.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with speaking to them, but a lot of I've seen in investigators and security people, they want to be buddies, or
Yeah.
they want to get closer to them, or they want to get autographs and
Yeah.
bullshit like that, and you can't do that.
No, it's got to be all professional. And you worked the some of the political conventions, the national conventions. That's the same kind of thing, And you have a objective or goals. Like my goal at the Golden Globes was I had to make sure everybody went to and from safely, and not to let anybody pass that didn't have a security. They had to have a specific security pass
Right.
to get through. That was other than celebrities. If you
Did you have any try
had
to get
one,
through?
had one guy, it was paparazzi, tried to get through, and I said, I need to see your credentials. And he said, well, I left them in the car. And I said, okay, go back and get them in the car. And he never came back.
True. Did you have any nefarious issues? Anybody try to do anything?
No, didn't have any. You had like when they first got there, you had all the fans screaming and hollering, and then they go,
Which could be a distraction.
Yeah. Then they go into the ballroom, and the senior people work the ballroom inside. I was junior, so I had to work outside. So that was a downtime. So and then after it was over, some of the newer celebrities that had never been to a red carpet event, they would come out the back way when they were supposed to go out the front.
Right. They just didn't know.
And they just didn't know. And I'd be like, well, they were like, where's my limousine at? And I was like, I don't know. So I'd have to call and find out, and you'd have to help them,
right.
negotiate it. The hardest part was you're on your feet for an extended period of time, same way you were at the national convention.
Mm-hmm.
And you're wearing dress clothes, and you have to be. How we did it. You would have an agent every 30 yards. So I would go to the one beside me and say, all right, I go to the restroom. Can you cover both? And we would buddy up. Then we went to the parking garage for lunch. So we had to go in shifts, and we got to eat the same food that the guest ate. They just
cool.
made it. It was neat, but our area was
It
was good. It was very good, and we got rooms at the Beverly Hilton where the celebrities stayed, and it was very. We got to work with the Beverly Hills Police Department. I remember the head guy when we were doing the briefing at 6:30. He said everybody here is either current law enforcement or prior law enforcement. He said if you have to lay hands on somebody, make sure it's the last resort. And he said if you do lay hands on them, do it politely.
And that's our policy
here
as well.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to,
he said do what you got to do, but do it politely.
Right. If they want to see the movie, we'll show them the ticket. We'll give them the ticket. But the problem is you got to wait till there's a threat there.
Yeah.
You can't just
and you got to do it the right way, professional.
And bully and all these things. Now, doing that with the celebrities is a whole different animal because you got so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
The flash bulbs are flashing. You got television people there. It's just a big ado. At the DNC, we had protesters. That was our biggest
which is
obstacle.
A bigger threat, I think.
And moving, we called them talent. Move the talent from point A to point B, and then from B back to A. And that was challenging. And we had motorcades, and we didn't handle any of that. We had a whole other team doing the motorcades. All we had to do is get the talent to the motorcade, and then wait and be there when they got back. And we had schedules, and we had so many people we had to deal with, and it was a job. But nobody within our principal staff was harmed. We had a 3-second delay with the network that we were working for. If there was some kind of disruption or whatever, unruly individual, we had 3 seconds to get it quiet down where they wouldn't have to stop the programming. And it was close a couple times. We had people slip in tambourines and horns and all kind of bullshit. But overall, we didn't have any problems. It was success. The producer says one of the best security assignments as far as our team working with them. It was a subcontract, but it was good for me. I learned a lot with that, just as you did with the Golden Globes. And probably won't get those opportunities again. And if we do, that'd be great. But at least we had that opportunity.
The hardest part I had, we had the walkie-talkies with the earpiece and the microphone on your cuff of your shirt. The hardest part I had, I was me and Rich, our cousin, we were the only people from North Carolina. Everybody was 90% were from New York.
That you had that southern drawl.
They couldn't understand me, and I couldn't understand them on the radio.
That's a
that was
problem.
And we all, the head guy, he was a cut up. He was he's retired NYPD guy, and he'd come out and he'd talk to us face to face. Said, "Man, I got to talk to you face to face because I can't understand y'all on the radio." And I said, "I know, can't understand you either."
Well, and that's you got to think about
that.
Yeah,
but they were real, And he said there was a few from California, and the guy beside me, he was from Riversdale, California. And I looked at him, and I was like, "I know you from somewhere. I've seen you." I said, "What? How do I know you?" And I said, "There's no way I know you. You live in 3 time zones away." And he said, "I've been on Cops before."
Oh, really?
And I said, "That's it."
Well, good.
That was out of all the celebrities I got to see, that was the funniest thing, because I thought, I've seen that guy before.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this has been a good episode, but I think we got enough material. We could probably do this once or twice more and really go in depth with it. And we just touched the surface this time. But I think this assignment, 10-star work, helped us.
Oh, it helped,
and made our people better.
Yeah. We all brought something to the table, and we all learned. Everybody that worked it learned something.
Oh, of course. I think so, too. So, anything else?
No, that's it.
It's Thanksgiving tomorrow.
That's right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I've been intermittently fasting for the last
I hear you.
4 days so I could prep up. And we're getting ready to transition.
Yeah, as you can tell, it's last call time. So we're going to take a quick little break, set up, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Monday afternoon roundtable. This is our favorite part. Mm-hmm. Last call.
Last call.
We got a different blend here today. America single malt whiskey called Dignified.
That's ironic, ain't it?
From South Mountain Distilling Company, which is just up the road, Rutherford College, North Carolina, which is between Valdez and Conley Springs.
Yeah.
I didn't know this existed, so this is pretty cool. It's aged in char oak cask, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
To tell you a little bit about it, an investment in the future is often a glimpse in the past. Mm-hmm. Who would have thought that?
Mm-hmm.
Dignified single malt whiskey is redefining a new era. A precise mixture of the finest grains, clean water, and a taste that's hard to deny. The control, calm flavor is a rich seduction of taste. They say respect cannot be bought. It must be earned.
Wow.
And we agree.
Dignified. Said established in 2015, I believe is what it says on the front.
It does.
What proof is it?
90.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
It's got a nice color to it.
Oh, it does.
It's got a little good smell, though.
Hold on.
I'm just smelling it. Just smelling it.
Okay. Ooh, that was about to be bad.
All right,
Cheers.
Let's
call. That's pretty good.
Doesn't have a harsh bite to it at all.
No.
Smooth.
Very smooth.
It's a different taste, though.
It is. It is
different. I'm trying to.
The bite's more than the aftertaste a little bit.
Well, yeah.
But it's not bad.
It's 90 proof. But it's
smooth. It's very smooth.
Yeah, I would drink it again, and it would be good.
Be a good after dinner drink.
Yeah, or late at night, or
early in the
sitting
morning.
at the bar. Anytime after 5.
Yeah.
We don't drink in the morning around here.
Hey, no matter what time it is in the day, it's happy hour somewhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think of it that way.
My sweet girlfriend's out here in the audience. Would you like to come have a drink of this with us? She's been a little under the weather.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to get her back up to speed.
What was your podcast about?
Executive protection.
We talked about your case, actually. what a challenge it was, but I think it was a success, and I think
I
you would
agree.
agree.
A very good learning experience. It went well
Put in around 440 man hours.
Jesus, I didn't know
in
that.
3 weeks' time, maybe.
Right under 4
4.
weeks.
Okay.
The prep week, I'm counting the prep week
Oh,
as
yeah.
the 4th week.
But the principal wasn't harmed. There was no significant threat made. The target's fine. You didn't have to engage with him.
Went through the court system. Did a good job.
Yeah, had a good attorney representing the principal, and we kind of made sure that all that took place, and that the principal had good legal counsel. Made sure that she had everything that she needed at her disposal as far as the legal system goes. And a lot of people just don't know
Oh, yeah.
what's expected, especially when it comes to domestic violence, family law matters, and things of that, which we talked about last week. So,
Good deal.
What-
What are we going to rate this at?
Jason,
I'd give it a solid 8.
I'm going to go a high 7.
I like it. I'm gonna go 8.5, which is high. That's it's 10 is the highest. That's the best thing you've ever put in your mouth. 8.5. I would highly recommend it. Drink it again, and Mark bought this for us, right? So we'll have to let him know.
One of our new associates.
Do
came
we-
into our office.
Do we know the price for a
$49.99.
Okay.
From Rutherford College.
Right?
We were talking about before you come in. Jason worked the Golden Globe Awards, and I worked the Democratic National Convention, and we were talking about the communication barriers, and one being is the Southern drawl.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, these officers and investigators and security people that come in from out west, up north, way down south, it just doesn't gel sometimes, and it's comical to hear the different brogues.
But look at our language to Eastern North Carolina language. Big difference.
North Carolina has 3 brogues. I don't know if you knew that or not,
Yeah.
and I'll explain them to you. You have the down east. We call those the hoy-toyters, and that's how they speak. The toys coming
When you
in.
say east of Raleigh or east
Way
of
east of Raleigh, east
or
of Greenville.
Greenville. Okay,
East.
that's
the,
what
the
I w-
Outer Banks,
Okay.
and they have a specific brogue in their language. Then you have the Midwestern. I'm going to use the term right. They say right on the coast, and the people from Raleigh say right. Us folks out here in the West, we call it right. He's right, and that's true. I mean, that's how
They
we.
have the appellation.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
Different
Yeah. And if you've ever been on the Green Swamp, going towards out of Columbus County, going towards the beach, when you go to the beach on 74, I can't remember the name, 410, I think it is, it cuts across. There's an area there called the Green Swamp, and there's a whole different language.
Tabor City.
It's Tabor City. That's it.
Okay.
In that area, east of there, a whole different communications. And you really don't notice it till you get on the ground. You hear some of it, say, what is he saying? But then you have to slow them down and you figure it out. So
We even gave everybody a little lesson in speech.
Mm-hmm.
Speech therapy. Dignified.
I'm on-
college.
tell you a little bit about my sweet girlfriend. She had a medical issue this week, but she's a medical provider. Medical provider. She's not worth a damn as a patient.
That's
She's laughing back there, but I'm being
Wait a minute now.
serious.
Most of us aren't.
wait till you get sick and she has to. Take
Well,
care
she
of
has.
you. So that's
And I
gonna-
have.
My wife is in the medical profession, and when she gets sick, I just do whatever she says. But when I get sick, she makes fun of me tremendously. She says,
Janice-
and I'm like that. She says, you turn into a big wuss when you get sick. I'm damn
I do too.
sick.
But now,
Sick, you sick.
that's right. I was in the hospital having surgery, and I get up to go to the bathroom and had that stupid ass robe on thing. I said, Janice, can you see my ass? She said, yes, I can. So, but anyhow, she took care of me, and I tried my best to take care of her, but she's just hard headed.
Yeah. Just go with the flow. Just do what they say.
Hard-headed.
When they're sick, just if they say go get something, go get it.
8.5, high 8.
8.
What'd you say?
I 7.
High 7. That's a good whiskey.
Local
Highly
too.
recommend it. Dignified from Rutherford College, North Carolina.
What's the name of the distillery?
South Mountain Distilling Company.
South Mountain's not far from here.
Now, you can
either.
see them actually from the road.
Mm-hmm.
So, last call. Hope you enjoyed it. Monday afternoon roundtable. We'll see you next time.
Let's go.